What do the locks represent to you?
For me, it's a rejection of European beauty standards because it is said that you're supposed to comb your hair's supposed to be straight, it's supposed to be soft. Well, locks is the complete opposite of that. If you look close, I don't know if you guys can see, my locks are not manicured like that. They're not. They're not manicured. I only do maybe a little bit of maintenance, like semi free form, just a little bit. But again, it's the complete opposite of what European beauty standards are. Non manicured locks, rejecting it. My hair doesn't get combed. My hair is not washed the way people say you should wash your hair. In our community, you're supposed to wash every week, right? Just so you don't have that stereotype that you're dirty. Well, for me, my locks have grown much more when I keep my hands out of them. I'm not saying that I don't keep my scalp clean because I do. My scalp stays clean every week just because you want to maintain the health of the lock. But as far as like shampooing, no. I shampoo like maybe once every 2 to 3 months at the most. I'm not shampooing every week because it'll dry out your hair. And then now your locks are starting to fall out one by one because they will fall out. Hair is very important, especially in within our community. We get stereotyped a lot. I heard Diesel make a comment saying that, oh, black women like your hair because well, he said that they want your hair. No, we admire the way your hair looks. Yeah, your hair looks very nice. It's very full. It's beautiful. I don't think it's anything wrong with telling a man that his hair looks nice. I would probably tell you that if your hair was shorter, if your hair was maybe cut into a fade, I said, man, your hair looks nice. It's not envy, it's an admiration. And people kind of get it wrong, especially towards black women, because they have so many stereotypes about us and our hair that we always wear wigs and weaves.
Mm.
And that's not always the case. There's a lot of black women who do rock their natural hair, and there's nothing wrong with them wearing a wig or a weave. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe they want to switch it up, or maybe they want a break. But I guess my argument is that black women do have hair. It's healthy. It's grown. We're keeping our edges when we're caring for. I just hate the stereotype that people have towards us that say that they don't like their hair. We do like our hair. Maybe we're just tired of dealing with it. But I mean, is it safe to say that a lot of women may be tired of dealing with their hair and they just want to switch it up? I mean, you're a man. You're a guy. I mean, do you think it's okay for your woman to switch up her hairdo and maybe get a different type of extensions?
Listen, I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Hmm.
I don't care what my woman does with her hair. If she want to have it super short, long, braids, who cares? But this is what I do want to ask you though. I have personally found it very annoying, also interesting how every black woman I've ever met has experienced being told by a non-black person, "Is that your real hair?"
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get it a lot. Yeah, that's happened.
Why is there a misconception that black women can't grow hair? Why?
I'm gonna say that maybe it could have stemmed from the time we arrived to this country, when the slave period did start in this country, where we probably didn't have the materials needed at that time to care for it. So it went, as the YT person would call it, unkept. And it's probably something that the YT person has never seen before. The way our hair coils towards the sun, and that's just to protect us from the shade. That's why our hair grows towards the sun. Is to protect us from hot climates like, around in West Africa. There's nothing wrong with that. But we did not have hair like the YT woman. And again, it's just going back to the proper tools and the proper maintenance needed to maintain type 4 coily hair. I'm just speaking on that because I have type 4 hair myself. Have you ever seen Lovecraft Country? Have you ever watched that show?
Mhm.
Lovecraft Country does a great job of showing what a pickaninny would have looked like. And I think those girls were called Topsy and Bopsy. And if you look at Topsy and Bopsy, you would see how their hair was formed in that show. And that kind of shows you like where the bad hair comes from,
Mhm.
which I don't think is bad. It's a stereotype that we're given. But yeah, coming here to this country against our will, of course, and then not having the tools. We had to find the tools to maintain our hair. And then you get into the early 1900s, you have something called what? The hot comb, right? I think it's the hot comb.
Yeah.
To kind of blend into society, because now we're trying to assimilate our look. So you have the hot comb, and then you have the relaxer. I myself was a product of the relaxer coming up in the 90s. My mom would relax my hair, and she would say, your hair needs to be straight. Your hair needs to be kept. She would say things like that. But I don't blame her for telling me these things. These are the things that she was taught. These are the things that she saw in society. Now she's all for, she's all natural and everything, Afro and everything. But she would tell me these things growing up. And she would say, you need to wear your hair behind your ears, so people can see your face. So they can see you're non-threatening, or that you are calm, and that you are willing to assimilate into YT culture. And for the longest, my hair was straight. But the backlash to that, Ricardo, was that it started to break off because of those relaxers. Mm-hmm. I had those sores in my head. I could feel the sores from the relaxer, because if you leave it on too long, it will start to form little sores in your head. So I had that, and then my hair started to break off really, really bad. And so by the time I was probably 14, no, I would say 16. I would say 16 years old, my hair was here. Here's where the insecurity kicked in, because I was picked on for that. I was picked on for having short hair. Kids would call me bald headed. I got that short end of the stick. So I started wearing braids. So here's where the extensions come in at. I started wearing box braids. I wore box braids throughout my whole high school career up until I got to college. And then I switched and now mind you, I am not caring for my natural hair. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Not caring for my natural hair, not doing what I was supposed to be doing. I would take out the box braids, and I would get a whole new set of box braids, right? Yeah, maybe a quick wash, and that was it. But I wasn't going to the salon. I wasn't doing any of that. New set of box braids in. Then here comes the wigs. Okay, I had a whole basket full of wigs. I was obsessed with the wigs. I would have black hair. I would have honey blonde. I would have burgundy. I had a whole wet, wavy, straight, you name it. I had it. Again, it's going back into that personality. And I love the attention that it came with. I love the attention that I got from men. I would get attention from all type of guys with whatever hairstyle I had. And I loved that. I'm not going to even lie to you. And then when it came off, I was faced with who I was, and this was who I was. And I did not like that. And I said, I have to change. I have to do something. I can't keep going like this. And I'm talking about, I was putting glue on my hair. Like, you're not supposed to do that when you're doing extensions, but I was doing that. So it was bad, horrible. And I said, I had to detox myself. So what I did was I said, I'm going to make a commitment, and I'm just going to wear my hair pulled back, right? I'm just going to brush it, put some gel on it, pull it back. I had enough hair to pull back in a ponytail. Fine. I wore my hair like that for a very long time. And then this is where the mini twist. So for the Black women in the chat, that for between like 2008 and 2010, this is where the mini twist started to come in at. And that is what started to grow my hair back. I started learning how to care for it. I started becoming one with myself. And I loved how the mini twists looked on me. And they grew, and they grew. And I wore that hairstyle up until I was probably in my late 20s. Okay. And then hits in my early 30s. That's when I left the twist in. These are just the results from me leaving the twist in. I let it lock up. So it was a process of undoing a lot of YT supremacy, a lot of European beauty standards. It was a process. It didn't happen overnight. So
is it safe to say that you doing all that prior to this, it was due to self-hate? Is it okay to say that?
I wouldn't say I hated myself. I would say, yeah, I hated my hair because it didn't look how the other girl's hair looked, on TV. And then you kind of get older and you realize, well, that's not who I am. I have to learn how to love who I am. And then you're in your circle of friends, and my friends, they themselves also have, nice hairstyles. So it's like you're trying to keep up, right? So I wouldn't say I hated myself. I just did not take the time to do it. So yes, I hated what I did to myself. That I think that's better. I hated what I did to myself. And I had to face what I'd done. I had to repair what I did to myself.
Yeah.
And I had to start by, cutting off certain things that I watched on TV because it was toxic. You're supposed to look this way. Your hair is supposed to look this way. If you want this kind of guy, your hair has to look like this. And like I told you guys earlier, I like the attention that I got. I love that. I mean, I attracted men from different types of ethnicities and races. Now, I'm in my going into my late 30s. Yeah, I'm more than happy with myself. And I'm glad I went through those transitions because it taught me a valuable lesson to, this is who I am. This is always who I wanted to be. And I'm glad I went through those transitions with myself.
My ex-girlfriend was a Dominican. I think she had 3C hair. And she used to always wear wigs. Now, I'm not going to accuse her of self-hate, that being the reason why she always wore wigs. However, there was one time when we were taking pictures together. She had a wig on. And I saw how she was like trying to fix her wig. Now, me personally, I loved her natural hair a lot. I thought she looked the best like that. So when we're trying to take a picture and she was trying to fix her wig, I said, just take it off. You look better without it. And you know what I'm learning right now listening to you? Yes, my intention was good, but it's very inconsiderate of me to not understand that struggle. So thank you very much for sharing this experience, because it gives me more understanding that just because you as a person that is non-black, that doesn't have that kind of hair, just because you do like it on the person that you're dating, it doesn't mean that you know what the struggle is and you get to determine what they deem pretty or not. Also, you don't know what they've been through in their life because of that hair. You don't know what they've been called because of that hair. And I speak for myself, by the way. And I appreciate what you just shared, because it makes me feel really bad now looking back at me trying to tell her, just take it off. But why? What do you know about her wearing that wig and why? You know nothing. So thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it, Emily.
And it's just to add a little bit more. And I said I'm not blaming the people who did this. They were kids when this happened. Okay, I'm pretty sure a lot of them have matured from then, right? They would say bad things, especially towards little girls like myself who had type 4 hair. And I know that's why my mom kept my hair. And I don't know if you ladies remember crochet braids back in the day. They look like curly fries. So my mom would keep my hair in that hairstyle, in which she thought was very fitting for me at that time. And even when you would take it out, guys would say, "Oh, your hair is nappy, right? Your hair is this." Again, that is a learned behavior. Like I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys and those girls have probably done the work themselves to understand that this is just a learned behavior, and it's also a stereotype, but a stereotype that is still present to this day, where you would get a lot of non-black people coming for, I would say, black women and calling their hair nappy. And to me, I'm like, I don't really care. Just know, picking on someone because they have a different hair texture, you don't know what that person has been through. At that age, when I was younger, that was hard, because you valued everybody's opinion at that age. But now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I don't care what you say about me.
Can you inform me a little bit about the Crown Act, please?
Black women in particular can be terminated for their hair in the workplace. This is probably some of the reasons why a lot of black women wear wigs and weaves a lot, just so they don't have to face that stereotype. But there have been black women who have been terminated for wearing their natural hair to the job, wearing their afros, the hair that grows out their scalp. And there's this, I think it's like maybe a piece of legislation that says that you cannot discriminate against a person because of their hair.
So that's the Crown Act. Well, dear Latin America, you need to pass the Crown Act, because in Latin American countries like Dominican Republic, like Colombia, like Venezuela, where there's a lot of black people, believe it or not, girls are not allowed to go to schools with their natural hairs. They are forced to straighten it. And I think that we need to note this for when certain Latin American countries claim that they don't have racism there. Oh, we're not anti-black. We talking about the same countries that identify your hair as bad hair, pelo malo, and also don't allow girls to go to school or go to work with their natural hair and still claim that you're not anti-black.